Hi, it's Candy. Welcome to The Art of Planning, where we always kind of want to plan around three things: pretty, on purpose, and powerful planning. And that makes the whole thing come together. This week we're going to jump back over, for right now, into the Erin Condren planner, and I'm going to show you what I did for this week's layout in the Erin Condren planner. Now, just in case we get interrupted, my husband did tell me that he was going to work on the front yard, but I never know with my husband. So we'll just hope that he stays in the front yard and we don't end up with him right outside the window. If so, we'll just do a quick wind up and that'll be how we leave it. But we'll keep our fingers crossed, okay? The other thing is, I'm going to try real hard not to do the whole flying hands thing. I noticed in the last video I was real bad about that, and you guys just ended up with hands everywhere. So I'll work real hard at not doing that, okay? So for the week of Monday the 11th through the 17th, this whole month had just a real pretty color scheme. Oops. Here, let me show you last week. This is the color scheme that we're working with the whole month of April, and it is just so nice and so fun, and it's so easy to work with and not have to work around, that it's, golly, it's so enjoyable. And maybe it's just the fact that I am learning to do that, which is really nice. It's not nearly as much work. So, and I also did something new this week that, if I've done before, I've only done it on a very, very small scale. I didn't do it on a huge scale this week, but I certainly stepped out of my comfort zone a little bit. I worked with some stamps, and I did some stamping in my pretty planner. I haven't really done that before, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I will share that with you, and then I will certainly let you give me comments, because I do have a couple questions about that too. So this week, I did the pink and the purple theme, the little bit of turquoise up here for the days, just as an accent color. That was my third color. It was just very light on that color, and I left it just like it was. I did not feel any need to change that. The after I kind of know what direction I'm going, I pick out the washi that I am going to use, and I usually pick out 2 or 3 times more than I need, and then kind of narrow it down and see what I'm going to end up with. And what I decided to do was, this was the first one I chose. It was the patterned one, and it had a nice size pattern to it, so I knew anything else I did kind of needed to be a little calmer. So this is the color that I used. I just used it at the bottom, and then I always use it to define the weekend. I do a lot with washi on the weekend. I used it at the bottom over here also. I didn't do anything on my headers for any of the days, or in between, or at the top, at the midpoint, or down here. I just left those totally as they were. They were so organic. They worked so nicely with the sizes. I left those totally as they were. I also then went in and used kind of a deep, deep pink. It worked with the sticker colors that I was going to use. It was a nice accent color, and it worked with the ink color that I was going to use also. So that's why I pulled that in. And in addition to that, it worked with the other washi tape that I was going to work, which is this rose color down here, and I just kind of wanted to implement that lightly. So I will tell you in a minute more about that. And then I also just used this striped washi. I only used it in a couple places, but it let me just do a little bit of dividing with some other things. So I pull those out so I know that they will coordinate, they will harmonize, they will work if I need them, when I need them, and I can go from there. I just want to have my washi selected and at hand, okay? So those were the washis I worked with. Then, mainly for my stickers, I used this line from Vintage Gypsy Road. Let's see if I can just put them here in the center. They were mainly full boxes. Here, let me do this. They were mainly full boxes. And then full t-shirt boxes. And then I also used some that were the little heart flag boxes. I don't use a lot of icons. I probably should learn how to use more of those, but I just don't, I hardly ever use that. Probably what I need to do is avoid purchasing those pages because I just don't use those. I have to stay with a very neat and simple plan. I've told you that over and over and over. I just have to stay real simple because this in itself is enough for me, especially when I start filling it in. If I do a lot of other stuff, my eye can get really confused. So most of the stickers are Vintage Gypsy Road. Of course, I cannot go without including stickers from A Heartfelt Life. And then several of the smaller ones too are from Willow Fields. So that's what I used there. And then, to show you, this was the header too. And that was from Vintage Gypsy Road. I loved that header. And then the stamps that I used, I wanted to show you. And I went and got this paper just so maybe you could see them better. That glares hard, isn't it? Okay, this one is from Illustrated Faith. And this was the rose. I used the smaller rose. And with that being said, what I used from Illustrated Faith, and I did use a kit. This is the second kit that I have gotten. I used this. I used this ink pad, and then I used this matching washi. So those are the things that I used from Illustrated Faith. And then I have a question to put out there, or a statement to make, or whatever. And then the other stamp that I used, the other two stamps I used, were the one that said important things to do and things to remember. Important things to do I used in the berry color. Things to remember I used with the black stamp pad. But I wanted to see if you could see that. Okay, so things to remember, important things to do. So I had a very specific game plan about when, where, what. This week is very planned, as is next week. I don't have anything written down, but let me assure you, everything is very planned. I'll have another video coming up tomorrow or the next day. You know what they say about the best laid plans. I'm not sure the plan is going to end up like it has been in place for a long time or not, but whenever I designed this, I mean, I knew exactly what was going where and when. So it really had a purpose of being like it was. I love being able to line list things. I don't particularly like writing things in an empty space. I like to line list them. I like things to be in order, and I like a continuity with things. Now, the one thing that I really wanted to mention and or ask or comment is I have used some stamps recently, just in doodling and playing and in some other things that I have done. And what I will tell you is I noticed a ton of difference when I used these stamps and this stamp pad. I mean, a ton of difference, because immediately when I put the stamp to the stamp pad, you could just see the stamp absorbing the ink. And then whenever I would do a test on a scrap piece of paper, it just did an incredible image. I was just so impressed, because that is not the experience that I have had with stamps even recently. So I am just thinking there's a difference in a quality of ink, there's a difference in a quality of stamps, there's a difference in quality of both. I mean, I really don't know what the difference is, what to look for as I move forward in stamping. I think I'm really going to enjoy doing the stamping, but using these stamps and this stamp pad told me there is most definitely a higher quality of stamps in which I would place these, and even the ink in which I would place what I used also, because there was just such a difference in how things stamped. And I know this one looks a little blurry, my fault, and also just because of where I had to place it. I mean, that was just a little bit tricky in and of itself, but I was so pleased with how they stamped. I mean, I was just so pleased with how they stamped because, like I said, I haven't had that experience necessarily. So, if you guys have a comment, let me know how you look for your better stamps, how you look for your better ink pads or whatever, because I will tell you, this is a quality ink pad. I've gotten a couple of them because I've gotten a couple of the kits. This is a quality ink pad, as are their stamps. Very, very, very pleased with that. So you can just see pretty easily, as I always do, I start with my washi. After I've selected it, I start with putting it down, and then I knew immediately I needed my full boxes up here, and then I knew I wanted to play with the stamping, so I put my stamps right here. And with line stamping, I knew I needed some of those there. I am most productive in mornings, like mid-mornings to late mornings though, and then in the afternoon time. So that's when I get most of my work done. So that's where you're going to see the bulk of places for me to list or line list things. Important things to do here. This is time I will probably not be in the office, or at least I didn't think I would be in the office. So that's when I can use full box of patterned things. The evenings are a great planning time for me, and many times my work does carry over into early evenings just because I want it to. Not necessarily because it should, but many times it does. So that's why I know specifically how and when to place these times. This was so much fun. I just within the past couple days used this stamp, except in the larger size. Pretty much the same, but I just feel if I put that up there on with my planner as the background, you're not going to get to see it. So I used this, and something I did just within the past day, and I actually colored with it. I used some colored pencils. I only have a colored set of 12, but it was still fun to color with. I see why people are so crazy about coloring, because that could really grow on you. So I had a lot of fun with that. I do words, I do quotes, I do things that help me to remember, to be grateful, to be thankful. I have to have grateful talks with myself often. I have to do things to help me remember that it's not about what happens during the day. It's about how I respond. It's about how I feel about what happens. It's about how I look at what happens. It's about how I treat others through what happens. I have to do a lot of self-talk. Oh my goodness. One of these days I'll grow up, maybe. So weekends I always treat as their own special category, and that's always fun to do too, because it allows me some creative time in there. And I did not set a particular planning time up here like I usually do, because I had a certain reason to do that, but it was fun to do some playing in here with some other things, and had some fun with my little Rose and get to play there. So I actually continued with the next week also. So I've already got that done and I already have that ready to show you when the time is ready for that. Wednesday is normally always my nail night. That's a fun time to get to do that. So you usually see a little bottle of polish on Wednesday night. That's a fun time and a me time to get to do something. So that's just kind of an overview of how I played with this week. That's always so relaxing and so much fun for me to get to do. And this week it was fun to introduce the stamps, and I really loved doing it, and I know I'll get to do a lot more with it because it really was fun having good products to work with. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or if you have comments and can help me know how to better select some products, then please be sure and leave any comments down below. I do read them, I do respond, and I appreciate them also. I also appreciate you. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate any time, all the time you spend with us on this channel. If you haven't subscribed, it would be great if you did so, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks. Bye.